To once again to my live session. My name is Joel, your regular host, and today we have a guest. But before I introduce my guest, I'll just give us a background of what to expect in our discussion today. Today we'll be discussing two topics in our live session today. We all know Nigerian politics; everything is heated up at the moment. And a lot of people believe most of the things that we see happening today, they're all geared towards 2027, the presidential election, general elections in 2027. Everything in Nigeria always have a political undertone. So today, our first discussion will be about the PDP. It's no longer news that PDP is embroiled in a lot of internal problems. As we speak, one time largest self Christian largest party in Africa now has two factions. And we've seen governors and top party members defecting from the party to the ruling party or to the ADC. Now, the party has now become a shadow of itself. Some have said that the reason for some of these internal wranglings is because some elements within the APC have decided to kill the party that way to weaken the opposition that the PDP might want to put forth in 2027. While some agree or some just argue that lack of internal politics is what is affecting the PDP today. And just today, we saw a breaking news that the governor of Rivers State has formally defected to the All Progressives Congress. And we've seen other party governors on the verge of, leaving the party and moving to and pitching their tent elsewhere. So today, to discuss some of this is our first topic. Our second topic is about the level of insecurity in Nigeria and how this might affect the chances of Bola Ahmed Tinubu come 2027. Now, the reason why we are discussing this because insecurity was the game changer for Jonathan in 2015. How it affected Jonathan seriously in 2015 election. So we'll be discussing this today, and our guest is a former member of the House of Representatives. Okay, I think we've lost that. Okay, we seem to be having network challenges from Nigeria, but okay. So to discuss these topics today, we have a two-term member of the National Assembly, a two-term member of the Nigerian House of Representatives, and the Eighth Assembly. He's a veteran journalist, a one who's very vast with Nigerian politics, having taken part at the highest level of Nigerian politics. And while as a journalist, he covered so much of happenings in Nigerian politics. So we have Honorable Rimamdi Shawulu joining us today from Abuja. Glad to have you join us today, sir.
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me clearly.
Yes, I can hear you clearly. I'm sure our audience can also hear you very clearly. Now, let's start with this first thing, the PDP. You were once a member of the PDP. You contested on the platform of PDP twice and you were elected on the same platform of the PDP. At that time, it was one of the biggest party, or if not the biggest, the largest party in Africa. Now the PDP is a shadow of itself. Now we have two factions, one led by the Wike faction and one funded and spearheaded by the governor of Oyo State. What do you think is the implication of these internal wranglings in the PDP and the faction? What do you think are the implications considering that 2027 is just around the corner because we are now in December 2025. By next year, we will have officially entered the election year, where we'll see a lot of politicking going on about political parties, primaries, and all of that. What do you think is the implication of this come 2027?
Well, thank you for having me once again. It's very obvious that, to my mind, that the major thing that we need to know about what has happened to the People's Democratic Party is that, howsoever you look at it, it is unlikely that anyone who has the desire to be elected into any office in the coming election will have a platform in the People's Democratic Party. If you speak to the uh, people in the two groups that you mentioned, they were both groups are optimistic that the cases that have been filed in court, they are going to win. The group that is loyal to the former Rivers State governor and the minister of the FCT is very optimistic that it will win the cases that are in court. And the side that with the governor of Oyo State, one of the governors who teamed up with then Governor Wike to work against the People's Democratic Party in the 2023 election, Sheyi Makinde, they are also hopeful that they will win their case. And but what is obvious is that the two groups have together, by their actions or inactions, refusal to agree or disagree publicly the way they have done, they have made the People's Democratic Party unavailable for the next election. It is very unlikely, contrary to what some of them believe, that after 2027 they will reorganize and work again. It's very unlikely if you look at political history and history of political parties and the major distrust that they now have between them, that the party will resurrect after 2027. You never say die, but if we are anything to learn from history, new circumstances will arise, new factors will arise. It's even possible that the people who are clamoring for the for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to win his second term from within the PDP may fall out of favor with President Bola Ahmed if he wins the election in 2027. On the
2027.
other hand, it's quite possible that, as it happened in Guinea-Bissau, and in particular, the attempt to, as people believe generally, to stop the PDP from fielding a credible candidate so that President Bola Ahmed will win the election, may end up doing the exact opposite. It may end up putting together or bringing together all groups and persons that are so aggrieved from all sections of the country and create the environment for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to be defeated. Let me make it clear from some of the little that I know of history. In Kenya, in the last election, the president and his long-time opponent team up to ensure that they defeat to deny the then vice president, who is now president, Ruto, from becoming the president. But that ended up making it possible for Ruto to be elected. The fact that the president and the major opposition leader who has since died team up to work against Ruto, the Kenyan public decided, maybe for that or other reasons, and they voted into power President Ruto. So this gang up to clear way for a particular candidate has the potentials of actually doing the exact opposite. And if you look at the recent coup in Guinea-Bissau,
Yes.
the president as well banned some opposition political parties, destabilized them, and they enfranchised some candidates from running the election. On the eve of the election, one of the candidates who was de-enfranchised decided to team up with the guy that the president thought will not be capable of winning the election. And the president actually, from the statistics that all most observers have said, defeated the president, which was why the president himself called the military to take over. And in a strange way, right, instead of the military declaring that there was a coup, it was the exiting president who had seen the election result that he did not win, who decided to announce to the world that a coup had taken place. So
Yes.
and if that scenario holds, PDP is unlikely to come back from where it has gone. On the other hand, in the event, for instance, that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu wins the election because of cooperation from key people within the People's Democratic Party, it is just possible that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu will come up with new policies and programs, may have new friends that may not see the need for PDP to still be alive. And of course, that may mean that the PDP may not succeed again,
Okay.
may have killed itself.
Okay. Now, there's this notion that's out there in public that what we see happening in the PDP today is funded or orchestrated by the APC. Do you think that's the case?
Well, I've heard that, and that has been canvassed in the media. But the question that other people have raised too is that while PDP was in power, PDP tried to also destroy other political parties, to weaken other political parties. And so if the APC is doing it to the PDP, it is nothing new or strange.
Okay.
But the fact of the matter too is that, in my opinion, the problem is not that a thief wants to come to your house, because thieves will always want to come to your house and take things from you. It is for you to secure yourself. The
Absolutely.
fact that PDP has been unable to secure itself, PDP and its officials have themselves to blame. Perhaps let me remind you about, take you down into history. In the first instance, you recall that the PDP would have won the 2015 elections very
Elections.
easily had
Yes.
PDP not been sabotaged by PDP in 2015. PDP
Yes.
lost the election to the activities of PDP. And some of the people who moved out of PDP later came back into the PDP after they discovered that the new party that they had funded was not serving their interest. As well, you also recall that in the last election, 2023, PDP lost the election because PDP members worked against the PDP. Had
Absolutely.
PDP members stood together, there is no way that PDP would have lost the election. So the issue of external sabotage, APC trying to infiltrate and do all those things, they are neither here or not there. I was involved with the 2011 elections. I was in the situation room of the Goodluck Sambo campaign organization, and we do know that PDP stood largely together, despite the fact that there were many people that worked against the PDP from within the PDP itself. We had some PDP members team up in what they call the uh, Northern Consensus Candidate, in which President Muhammadu Buhari competed against the former military head of state, uh, General Ibrahim Babangida, and in the mock in the mock election that
Yes.
was done that produced Muhammadu Buhari as the joint Northern Consensus candidate. You will recall that even people like the late Adamu Chiroma of the PDP, a board member of the PDP, was part of the people that did the Northern Consensus candidate gamble.
Absolutely.
And a lot of the people that were a part of the gamble worked with President Muhammadu Buhari in 2011. He lost the election to President Goodluck Jonathan because majority of the members of the PDP did not follow them to do the sabotage. So it's not a new thing that PDP members have been sabotaging themselves.
So, given this foundation and background that you have laid, it simply means that we're not seeing any credible or any strong, viable opposition from the PDP come 2027. So now let's talk about the ADC, because it appears ADC is now the new bride that will now function, as the viable opposition, against the APC come 2027. But from what we see, it appears from the body language of members or top members of the ADC, it appears the ticket will definitely go to Atiku. And Peter Obi has said in a different fora that he will not play second fiddle. He wants to be president. Do you think this might also cause a problem for the ADC in 2027?
Well, political parties, as a political scientist, you do know that political parties, uh, environments where ideas compete, individuals compete, and people have resolutions are taken. And it is important to note that I'm sure that worry that is expressed in that discussion comes from two issues. The first one is the fact that there appears to be the belief among many people that the zoning formula that since President Muhammadu Buhari spent 8 years as president, the presidential ticket should remain in the south.
In the South?
And that is one leg of what I think you are saying. But that it does appear, as some people think, that the ADC may be a, a special purpose vehicle for the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar to get a ticket. And if he does get the ticket from, if I understand what you are saying, we will probably have a situation where the key figures like Peter Obi, who still commands very large following in the South, South, and Southeast, may pick tickets from other parties, from another party, and that may open the room for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to still win the election. Or as some people have said, if Peter Obi from the South contest and Bola Ahmed Tinubu from the South contest, then the
Contest.
room may be available for ADC, whose candidate might be a Fulani or Hausa from the North to win the elections. All those speculations are there. But I want you to note that in the first place, all these are projections. In the second place, when people are working for power, a lot of things would depend on how strongly they feel about the situation that is on ground. In 2015, Vice President Atiku Abubakar and some other people had ambition to contest the presidency of Nigeria,
Yes.
but they buried that ambition because they wanted to win election. It was important for them, in their opinion, to win the election. So they team up to work with President Muhammadu Buhari. So it's quite possible that howsoever anybody thinks, by the time the clouds clear, whether PDP will be in the hands of FCT Minister Nyesom Ezenwa Wike, or will be in the hands of the people that held the convention
Ibadan.
Ibadan, will determine, for instance, what will happen, who will be candidate and who will not be a candidate. And of course, if both Vice President Atiku Abubakar, President Goodluck Jonathan, whose name we've been hearing, express interest to contest election, and Peter Obi wants to contest, and they strongly feel that they need to change the situation that we have it today, they will be able to come together, have a working arrangement to get things happening.
Okay. The last question based on our first topic. You see, this issue of zoning has, has been one of the biggest problems we've had since 1999. And this whole issue of zoning, that has led to the downfall of PDP today, all of this can be traced to 2009 when Yaradua died. Because at that point, it was assumed that the presidency was zoned to the north. Upon Yaradua's death, it was expected that Jonathan wouldn't have contested 2011. And then, maybe due to desperation, he said he was going to do only one term. But at the end of the day, the body language suggested otherwise. And one of the reasons Atiku gave for leaving the PDP in 2014, teaming up with the G5 governors to, defect to the APC, was a question of zoning. That the power rotation was still within the north. And at that point, Jonathan didn't have, shouldn't have contested based on gentleman agreement within the party. And now Buhari did 8 years. Power went to the north for 8 years. So it's assumed that the next 8 years, power will be in the south. Do you think, aside the constitutional rights or constitutional provisions that guarantees that Atiku should contest, do you think it's fair for Atiku to contest this election?
Well, the issue is that even though zoning has been a principle of the PDP, zoning is not a constitutional provision, number one. And secondly, even when President Goodluck Jonathan contested election in 2011, in the PDP primaries, his opponent was Vice President Atiku Abubakar. And secondly, even when it was clear that President Olusegun Obasanjo had been selected to recontest the election in 2003, we still had a lot of people from the north and even southeast that contested against him. So the point I'm trying to make is that the issue should not be a question of fairness or non-fairness. If you are talking about question of fairness or non-fairness, then you have to raise some issues. One of which will be, by the way, let me even go down to a little history. The constitution that was first used in Nigeria were the constitutions that were drawn up with Nigerian participation by colonial authorities, and the parliamentary system was such that there was no question of zoning. Let me make that clear. Let it be clear that if we had continued with the issue of, if the First Republic had continued, had not been disrupted by coup, I want to assure you that the North, nobody from the South would have won the election. They would have become prime minister, because if you look at the seats and if you look at the number of seats that each of the regions had, and that manifested itself in the way the Northern People's Congress, the NPC, conducted itself. You will never, if you check through archives, you will not see anywhere that the late Sardauna of Sokoto, Sir Ahmadu Bello, who was the premier of North and the leader of NPC, or the Prime Minister Tafawa Balewa, conducting any campaign in any part of the South, because they didn't need to. In the parliamentary system, all you needed was whoever had the majority members of the produce the leader. That's what you have in UK and some other parliaments. Yes. So you cannot find where they went to campaign, but you see that Chief Obafemi Awolowo. You also see posters and pictures of him campaigning with helicopter in certain northern states because he needed to win some sections of the north to be able to get majority members. And so this idea of zoning political positions only came with the, in my own understanding of our history, only came
Yeah.
with with the 1999 constitution. And the 1979 constitution, you also notice that even if Awolowo had the plurality, assuming he even had the plurality of votes, majority of votes, which was unlikely because the sheer number of registered voters in the Southwest versus what obtained in then the states of the North, there was no way he could have become the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And so it was is part of our historical development that a time reached that it was thought that we should zone. And I did point out in one of the videos that I did is that General Sani Abacha at the Constitutional Conference or Constituent Assembly that he convoked in Abuja,
Yeah.
that issue came up very strongly. And it was said that power should rotate should move between North and South. And then there were complaints. Then I remember I was a journalist reporting those, I was reporting for, I was reporting, doing reports as a journalist, and I was in Abuja when some of those controversies came up. It was argued then that if you just rotated the power between the North and South, you were going to have a problem that some sections would be denied. And so you had this next question uh, that it was resolved, and General Sani Abacha decided to create uh, geopolitical zones. And the
Yes.
understanding then was that whenever power moved to one region, say the North, it was going to shift from one of the regions, from one of the geopolitical zones to another,
To
so
another.
that all the people will be taken care of. However, as you have noticed, in the power has come to the North two times since 1999, the constitution that took effect after those proceedings. Both persons who have become president were from one zone, that is Northwest, and from one
Northwest.
state, and belong to one ethnic group and one religion. And if you check to the power that has gone to the South has gone to one ethnic group.
One ethnic group.
It has gone to but two religions. It went to General
Olusegun
Olusegun
Obasanjo.
Obasanjo, and then now to
Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, both from the Southwest. And if you don't take time, you create a situation where the Yoruba, for instance, will become the Fulani of the South. Each time power goes to the South, it will go to the Yoruba.
The
And each
Yorubas.
time power goes to the North, it will go to the Fulani or somebody from the Northwest. Having said that, in measuring the issue of whether there has been fairness or not, people have called attention to the fact that the North has been in power for longer periods than
The entire South.
the South. Well, that if you take that, Nigeria since 1960, that is true, but I think that will be faulty because before that time, it was who had the largest population that just simply produced by the fact that he had more members in the parliament. But if you take the case from 1999 to date, the President Yaradua had about 2.5 years or so
Yes.
as president, and President Muhammadu Buhari had 8 years, making it a total of 8.5 years. If you go to the South, President
Obasanjo.
Olusegun Obasanjo has had 8 years,
8 years.
and now President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has done 2 years. He has almost caught up with the presidency, with the years that the Fulani
Yeah,
in the Northwest
you're
had.
excluding Jonathan's for about 5 years of Jonathan.
No, I'm not
Let's
excluding Jonah. I'm
okay.
coming to that. So, if you bring in Jonathan's one, of course, you read the fact that the South has had 8 years of Obasanjo, uh, 2 years now of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, that is 10 years, and
Yeah.
5 years of Jonathan. So from 1999 to date, you see that the South has had 15 years to the North's 10 years. So it's for you to choose. Numbers are, people say stupid numbers or stupid statistics. You can turn it whichever way. So people
Absolutely.
will turn it and say, oh, the South, because they are calculating from 1960 to date. But if you are calculating from the time that we agreed we should be sharing, rotating positions, the South has actually had more years in power than the North.
Yes, because that question about rotating power within the six geopolitical zones. Some years ago, I wrote a paper about the North-South dichotomy and how we can have all-inclusiveness when it comes to power sharing and governance. And one of the recommendations I gave in that paper is that power should rotate within the six geopolitical zones. So the question of um, majority should not even count. If power goes to the northwest, next it should go to the north central or probably northeast or southwest, southeast, south south. So if we have power rotation within the such political zones that way, I think some of the problems that we see today, but some of the internal problems that we see in Nigeria today will not be there. But of course, the political class will always see things from a different angle, especially those who have different motives why they want to seek, why they are seeking for power. Now, before we move to the next topic, because we're really a bit out of time, please, if you're watching, please kindly share this video. You can drop your comments. If you have any question for our guests, please kindly drop your questions and we'll definitely do justice to your question. And please like, share, and also leave a comment, not just a question. Our guest is Honorable Rimam Deshawulu. He was two-time member of the Nigerian House of Representatives. Now, to our next question. Now, we have seen heightened insecurity in Nigeria, and with high-level kidnapping and everything, and some have given the whole thing a political, coloration. Some have said it's just politics, and they are drawing inference from what happened in 2014, that led to let's say a northern gang up against Jonathan, especially with the Bring Back Our Girls saga and the Boko Haram and all of that. Now the insecurity has even taken a different dimension. Now we have not just Boko Haram, we have ISWAP, we have banditry going on, we have high level kidnapping, we have IPOB, and multidimensional security challenges. Do you think all of this will limit Bola Tinubu's chances in 2027, just like he did Jonathan in 2015?
Well, I think the what we should be bothering about, it should actually not be whether President Bola Ahmed's chances will be affected or not. As a matter of fact, I'm always not happy when people reduce the current political problems to the current security problem to the issues of 2027, because doing so actually undermines or reduces the enormity of the problem that we have on this in the security sector. We have serious challenges in the security sector, and I think instead of solving the problem, looking at the problem holistically, dispassionately, we look at these problems from either political perspective or from a narrow religious band, and we miss the point that Nigeria is facing an existential threat to the extent that it's still possible that we might not even have a Nigeria the way we think we have if we don't take time. That is the point that I want us to note, that we have an existential threat that we should be talking about. And it is not just the issue of whether there is election in 2027 or so. What if the crisis so rocks the country that we don't even have the elections? If you take a map, I'm trying to draw a map of the current areas that have been under attack since September up to date. You can mention Plateau, Kaduna, those are states surrounding the
Yes.
FCT. You can mention Niger State, where we've had massive kidnappings of school kids of recent, and we have stories of several local government areas, people paying allegiance or paying tributes to bandits. We have Kogi State affected, and
Including Nasarawa State.
Nasarawa State. So you can see that the FCT is already being surrounded. And if you look at, you are a political scientist, you know what happened in Syria when the Shara and his band of HTS militants took over Syria. The government was weakened by
Absolutely.
several decades, several years of insecurity. The security people were so overwhelmed that security personnel were not motivated to fight. And these guys simply walked their way within 11 days into Damascus and overthrew the government. If you look at what happened in Afghanistan too, you will see that how the Taliban's,
The Taliban's.
before they entered, they weakened several factors around Kabul. By the time they were entering, it was just a free ride for them. And the Americans had to flee in a disarray, a scandal that will forever dent the image of former President Joseph Biden. And in this crisis that we are talking about, have serious implications for not just Nigeria, but for the Sahel states. You recall, and you do know, even Al Jazeera, that has been very friendly with some of the militant groups, uh, reported that the militants have surrendered Bamako, and it's expected that if the Americans don't intervene to break the siege on Bamako, Bamako may fall. And if Bamako falls, it's very possible for the same group that is operating in what do you call it, in Burkina Faso, to also overwhelm the security forces in Burkina Faso. And if Mali and Burkina Faso collapse, you will know that it will just be a matter of months. Abuja will
Yes.
be overrun. So
Absolutely.
the issue is that when we look at these issues from the narrow prism of 2027, we we are helping to promote the narrative that makes the government not to take the serious actions and to seek for the type of international assistance that it needs to actually stop
Yeah.
what is happening.
Yeah, but from all indication, it appears Nigeria doesn't want to seek for international intervention. I think the government of the day is also, politicizing the entire issue. Now, just today, the National Assembly approved that Bola Ahmed Tinubu can send Nigerian troops to restore normalcy and restore democracy in Benin Republic. And then we are all wondering, given the magnitude of insecurity we have in Nigeria, why is the government not replicating such actions in quelling, or fighting the bandits and the Boko Haram? Like, because today it was reported, I saw some of those footages myself, of bandits with anti-missile rockets, you know, serious rockets that can bring down an aircraft. Lots of them with that. Now, I think, given what we are seeing about the rise of banditry and all of these non-state actors wielding so much dangerous weapons in Nigeria, Don't you think the Nigerian government should take it even more serious? Because from what all indication, it appears the Nigerian government is the one politicizing the issue. Maybe you are looking at it from that same prism of the fact that what we are seeing in Nigeria is just all about power grabbing and all of that. So why do you think the Nigerian government is not replicating such actions when it comes to fighting internal, maintaining internal security in Nigeria?
Well, I can't speak for the current government because even me, I really don't understand what the government is doing or their perception or understanding of what they are doing. By the way, you know that the treatment you get in any hospital with any doctor is as good as the diagnosis. If the diagnosis is wrong, the patient might die or suffer greater harm. And the narrative coming from the National Security Advisor, from Bayo Nanuga in some of the statements that they
Mhm.
made regarding Plateau and Benue State show that they don't understand or have what I perceive to be a very wrong understanding of the current security challenges that we have in the country. uh, I've met some people too from both sides of the divide. The people that are anti-Tinubu, who say that the president is the one that has heightened the security crisis, so that he will not conduct elections in some places and will simply write results. I've heard that from. Interestingly, they are elites, people that ought to know better. And then I've had people who are close to or supportive of the president in saying that those that don't want the president to win the 2027 elections are the ones that are generating the crisis. So that I'd like you asking your question, the insecurity was used to stop President Goodluck Jonathan, and insecurity could be used to stop President Bola Ahmed Tinubu from getting his second term. But I think and I seriously believe that both sides are very wrong. And because both sides are very wrong, particularly the government side, which should take action, the actions that the government is taking, actually, in my opinion, not good enough. If you see the pictures, the mapping that we just told you, you consider the fact that the Al Qaeda, the JNIM, the group that that is pressing on Bamako now and is pressing on Traore in Burkina Faso, admitted that it has announced that it had carried out two attacks in Nigeria. In the first attack around Kwara State, they killed a soldier. Also around Kwara State, they killed two soldiers. And Al Qaeda and that group does not make claims that they have had an attack somewhere when they have not. At least so far, they say what they have done. And the government does not appear to be taking them serious.
Serious.
And secondly, if you also notice, when this debate about whether there's a genocide going on or not, Al Qaeda, in its official website, said that, admitted that it was the one that was sponsoring the killing of Christians in Nigeria. And the government and its officials are still denying what Al Qaeda has officially admitted that it is doing. So, this wrong narrative that people are doing will cause the reasons, in my opinion, that will make the government not to appreciate the fact that uh, uh, it's a matter of fact. Nigeria is experiencing an existential threat, a threat that should not be ignored, a threat that today, if we do not seek the help or get the help that the United States and other places have offered, forget about the political help that the Chinese and the
Of
Russians
course,
are
we all know
offering,
it's all about
because they are
geopolitics.
playing politics. They are trying to play geopolitics with Nigeria. The fact of the matter is that all over the world, it has been the United States of America that has been the forefront of fighting terrorists and terrorism. And it's easier now for the government to accept that help and get the terrorists destabilized. If the government does not do that, eventually the Americans will come, but they will come for to fight a larger war because of the pictures of the massive killings that these terrorist groups will
Yeah,
bring, the way they did in Syria and Iraq.
yeah, but for American comment, I don't think they will send boots on the ground because you and I have read and done extensive work on remote warfare. So I think because war, sending boots on the ground costs America a lot. So I think the Americans will probably want to use the option of remote warfare because that's what's in vogue now. Because if you look at America's intervention in Iran a few months ago, bombing those bunkers, it was done remotely, and some of the interventions the Americans have done within the couple of months or years, it's always been remote. So we are hoping that if America will intervene in Nigeria, it has to be remotely because sending troops down might lead to much more, except if Nigeria want to engage foreign mercenaries, which is very unlikely, unlike what Jonathan did 6 weeks after they postponed the elections for 6 weeks in 2015. But let's hope intervention will come soon because people are just sacrificed on the altar of speculations, like you have rightly pointed out. And this treating the insecurity with levity or seeing it from the lens of politics, I think it was also the same mistake Jonathan made in 2015, especially after uh, the Chibok girl saga and all of that. He always insisted that all of these things are just politics, and we saw what happened at the end of the day. But we just hope this government will see this issue from a different lens, trying to see that Nigeria is inflicted with existential threats, and the government will do what they think they can to ensure that more lives are not lost. And let's hope that Americans will intervene. Thank you so much for your time. The time is really fast spent. Thank you so much. Very interesting discussion. And please, if you're watching, we've come to the end of today's discussion. Please, like I said, you can share this video, you can like, you can get others to subscribe so to be part of what we're doing at Joy Political Blog. And when next we're having the live session, you'll be the first to know, definitely. So thank you once again for watching. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. And thank you so much, sir, for your time. If you have any other time soon, lot of topics to talk about. Thank you so much, sir.
You're always welcome, Joy. Thank you
Thank you,
very
sir.
much.